Hello friends, welcome to our channel Knowledge Amplifier. So today in this particular video, we are going to build an end-to-end data pipeline which is related to news data analytics. Okay, so we will be fetching the news data from a particular source system. We'll process that, transform that and load in a destination system, and the complete pipeline will be scheduled using apache-airflow. Okay. For this particular data pipeline implementation, we are going to use Snowflake and various AWS services. So without any further delay, let us try to understand the architecture first. Okay. So this is the overall architecture. If you observe this here, news related to a particular topic, we are fetching from news API resource. Okay. This news API helps us in searching through millions of articles from over 80,000 large and small news sources and blogs, and it will return us the result in JSON format. Okay. In EC2 instance, here our Python code is running, which will flatten that JSON data, and maybe that will write that particular data in Parquet file format in EC2 system only. Okay. Now extraction of data is done. Now this data from EC2 local file system, we will upload in AWS S3 in a particular bucket. And now once the data is available in our data lake, we need to ingest them in our cloud data warehouse, which is Snowflake table, right? So for that, what we will do, we'll be basically creating storage integration, and using this storage integration, we'll be creating an external stage pointing to this particular S3 bucket. Using this external stage, we'll be executing a copy into command to ingest the new data or incremental data from data lake to Snowflake table. Okay. And once the data is available in Snowflake table, obviously we'll flatten it out so that the data analyst team can easily query the data and do analysis whatever needed on the news related to a particular topic. Okay, right? So this is basically overall flow, and the whole flow can be scheduled or orchestrated using apache-airflow. That also we are going to explore how to orchestrate the complete pipeline with apache-airflow. Okay, right? So now let us try to understand little bit about news API. So to access news related to a particular topic, you can use news API. For that, we need to have the API key, and to get the API key, you need to sign up in this website newsapi.org, and once you sign up, you can easily get the API key. Okay, we are going to use that API key, and we are basically going to make the GET request using Python request module to the news API to fetch the news informations related to a particular topic, right? So let's try to explore the data extraction code using news API. Okay, so here is our code. If you observe, we are doing all the necessary imports first, and then here we have written def runner. This is the main function which is helping us to extract the news information related to a particular topic using the news API resource. Okay. So first of all, we are defining today variable. We have configured the API key, what we have received from the news API website. So here, this is the base URL. Okay. If you hit this particular base URL using the GET request, it will return you the news information related to a particular topic. So here, if you see, https://newsapi.org is basically our main URL. Then we are going to this particular resource path v2/everything, and then here we are putting a question mark. That is basically from here our query string starts. If you have went through my API gateway tutorials, you will be knowing that this particular thing is called resource path. These particular things are called query string, right? So here in query string, you can put the topic name on which you want to fetch news informations. Okay. The from and to are basically indicating from this date to that date, in between that interval, whatever news got published, that only you want to extract. Okay. Then sort by popularity. I hope you can easily understand what this is indicating. And then here we are providing the API key, what we have written here, and then language equal to English. So from news API, you can extract the news in different languages, but we are interested in English language. So here we have provided in query string language equal to EN. Okay, right? Now here we are printing the base URL, which is totally optional thing, just used for debugging purpose. Now here we need to provide the start time and end time in between which the news got published related to that topic, that only we want to extract. So here start time we are taking 1 day before today, and end time we are taking today. Okay. Now here the news API will return JSON data. That JSON data will be having different key value pairs. We are interested in specific key value pairs like news title, when the news got published, what is the source system, what is the content, okay, and then who is the author, is there any image associated with it, what is that, this kind of URL informations we are extracting. Okay, so here what we are doing, if you observe this one here, we need to populate the values like from date to date, on what topic we want to extract the data, all this we have to populate, right? So we are formatting that, string formatting basically. We want to extract the news information related to COVID. So here base URL we defined here, and first curly bracket starts here. So here q equal to COVID will be sitting. Then from equal to start date value, to equal to end date value will be sitting, and API key what we have configured here, that after string formatting will be sitting here. As simple as that. And then here we are using get method to fetch the news information related to the topic COVID. Okay. And then we are iterating in that body part. We are flattening the JSON data. We have basically extracted individual key value pair and we assigned in different variables, right? And the content can be very big in the news article, right? So we are just trimming that content. If content is not none, then we are just taking first 200 characters if the content is greater than 200, okay? And if anywhere full stop is there in between that 200 characters, we are just taking from the beginning to that full stop part. So that way the complete first sentence in the content, that only we are extracting, and then here we are concatenating in a pandas data frame, okay? Once we concatenated, once the for loop is over, what we are doing, we are writing that particular data in Parquet file format in our local file system. Here see the file name, home, then Ubuntu, because we will be running the code in EC2 instance, which is basically Ubuntu machine. So here home Ubuntu, and then here in Parquet file format I will be writing the data. So here I have given .parquet extension. Now the file name should be always different. So for that here what I have done, I have imported UUID, and for file name purpose, the name we are getting from unique identifier, which will return a constant unique value, and that one we are formatting in the file name. Okay. And with that name, we are saving the data frame data in Parquet file format, and we are returning the complete file name with path as part of the return statement. Okay. Right. I hope you are easily getting it. So this is our actual data extractor code. Right. So I hope you understood this particular part, how we are fetching the news informations. Now let's see the Airflow, how the DAG will look like. So first we will fetch the news informations using the code what just now I discussed. Then from the EC2 file system, we'll move that Parquet file to S3. So if you observe this particular news fetcher code, here in the second last line, we are writing the data in EC2 local file system. You see home Ubuntu, there we are writing that Parquet data. But we need to move the data in data lake, right? So as part of the next step, what we are doing, we are moving the file to S3 file system, and that you can easily do using AWS S3 MV command. Okay. So using AWS CLI, we can upload any EC2 file to AWS S3 if that particular EC2 instance is having access, right? So that's why here if you observe the architecture, here I have written AWS CLI we are using to upload the data from EC2 machine to S3, right? I hope you are getting that. And now what we are doing, we are basically executing a Snowflake create table command. And this will be executing only once, like it is like create table if not exist, like that. And then we will execute the copy command to load the data from S3 to that Snowflake table. Okay, right? So let me go through that Airflow code now. It is also a very simple code. We are going to learn one important component newly, that is basically called XCOM. Rest part is same like earlier what we discussed in Airflow in our previous video. If you want to know the detailed explanation how to set up the Airflow Snowflake integration, obviously you can check the link given in the description box. Okay, already I discussed this topic, but the new concepts I will be highlighting in this video. Okay, so here we are importing all the necessary modules, and these args and DAG are same like our earlier discussion. Now let's observe the DAG part. Okay, so first DAG, what it is doing, it is extracting these news informations. That is, as part of the first component, we need to call this particular runner function, right? So that's why if you see in the import what I have done, from news fetcher ETL. News fetcher ETL is our Python file name where we have configured the runner code, right? From that particular Python file, we are importing runner. Runner is the function. And now see the DAG. So in DAG, you can use Python operator. Like earlier, we used Snowflake operator to execute Snowflake queries. Similarly, we are having Python operator, what we imported here. Using that Python operator, you can call any Python function. Okay. So here task ID we are defining extract news info. The Python callable is runner. So it will call the runner function what is available in news fetcher ETL code. Okay, right? And DAG, we are configuring this DAG only. Now the next step, what we need to do, the news fetcher ETL, this runner function will write the data in local file system. From there, we need to move the data to AWS S3, right? So we need to execute a command AWS S3 MV, and then we need to provide the complete file name with path, where in local file system in EC2 the data is having, and here we'll be providing the destination S3 location where the data will be moved, right? So that one we have configured here. And here one interesting component you can observe, which is called XCOM or cross communication. So here try to understand why we need cross communication between two tasks. So here we are extracting the data and we are writing in a file in EC2, right? Now this particular AWS S3 MV, this command should only move that particular file what this runner function has written in EC2 local. That alone need to be moved in AWS S3 this particular bucket, right? So this is a separate task and this is a separate task. Now how this task will come to know what is the file what our runner function has written? That one it can get from this return statement. Okay. So our runner code or our first task is returning the file name where it has written that news information in Parquet file format, right? That one, our second task, which is basically executing AWS S3 MV command, that will fetch. Okay. So our first task is returning the file name with the path, and to fetch that in another task, here we are using XCOM_pull. So this is basically cross communication between two different tasks. Okay. And here TI is basically task instance object you can think of. Now using this particular object, we can use this method XCOM_pull, and then we can define from which task we want to get the return value. So our initial task is extract news info. That returned a file name with complete path which has to be loaded in S3. So that XCOM or cross communication information we need in another task. So here we are using XCOM_pull, and then here we need to mention the task name from where we want to fetch. Okay. And here this complete thing you have to put inside double curly bracket. Okay. Generally when we work with Python and we need string formatting, we use single curly bracket, but Airflow follows Jinja template. In Jinja template, you have to use double curly bracket. Okay. So I hope the cross communication concept is clear to you, because the first task will return that particular file name with path, and the second task will use that. In between two different tasks, cross communication needed. So first task will emit that information and the second task will capture that information. How the second task can capture? Basically here the first task is returning and the second task can capture using this particular method XCOM_pull. Just we need to mention the task name from where it will pull that information. Okay, right? I hope you are getting it. And then here we are mentioning the destination system where the data will be moved. Okay. So once the AWS S3 MV command is executed, obviously from EC2 local, the file will be deleted and it will be placed in S3 cloud data lake, right? Because MV command delete the file system from the source. I hope you are getting it. Now here we are executing a Snowflake query. First step, what we need to do, we need to create the table, right? As part of first run. So here we are executing create table command. Now generally what we do while loading the Parquet data, we store the data in variant column, but here Snowflake is having that infer schema feature for Parquet data. We are utilizing that to detect the schema automatically. Related to this particular topic, I have created a separate video. I'll be providing the link in the description box that how this infer schema feature works. All we need to do basically is we need to create the Snowflake external stage beforehand. Okay, so we'll do that. So here create table command, one time we are executing. Once it is created, from next time onwards, from Airflow's next run onwards, it will not be executed. And then here we are executing the copy command. As simple as that with Snowflake connection. Snowflake connection we have to configure in Airflow, just what we discussed in our previous video. Now here we are setting up the dependencies. First, the news informations will be extracted. Then from EC2 local to S3, the data will be moved. Then Snowflake create table command will be executed. Then Snowflake copy command will be executed. Okay, right? So I hope you are getting it. Now here what I will do. First in Snowflake I will execute certain commands. So here first I will drop a database. If it exists, I am creating that fresh database. I am creating a file format. I am going to create an external stage pointing to this S3 location ID setter. here in S3 I have already created that particular bucket also. Let me show you. So this is the bucket, and then here as of now if I just do list command here, because no data is there, it is returning nothing. And then here hello parquet, this table as of now which is not existing, it will be created once the create table command is executed. So see here as of now nothing is there, but once the create table command is executed, the hello parquet table will be created and the data will be ingested using the copy command. Okay, right? So now here what I will do, I will launch an EC2 instance and I will set up Airflow in it to run all the necessary codes. So here I'll go to EC2 instance and launch instance Airflow server demo, and I can choose Ubuntu, and here I will choose this one, and instance type I can choose T2 small, and key pair I can choose this one, and keeping all other properties as default I can launch the instance. So here the installation part is little boring, just like what we discussed earlier. Now here what we need to do, here if you observe this architecture, this move file to S3, that is basically this particular part from EC2 to S3, this file upload when we are trying to do, that time the EC2 should have S3 access, right? So we will configure that also. So here I will open AWS Management Console in a new tab, and here I will create an IAM role for our EC2 instance. So here I'll go to roles, create role. For EC2 I want to create the role and click on next. I need to provide the S3 full access to this role and provide that. Go to next, EC2 news demo YT, this is the role name. I'll create the role. So here the role got created. I'll click on my EC2 instance, I'll go to action, security, modify the IAM role. I'll choose the IAM role and I will attach the IAM role with this EC2 instance. Okay, right, that is done. And we need to provide all traffic access to the security group also, because EC2 web server we need to access it. So here all traffic from anywhere IPv4 I want to access. That is done. Now I can use putty to enter in this EC2 machine. Okay, I will take the key pair file, open this. Default user ID is Ubuntu, so here let it complete, and we'll change this setting to avoid timeout to 10 instead of 0. We'll apply this, and now here we will follow the same installation steps what we have done earlier. First sudo apt-get update, then next one is this one, and then what we'll do, we'll install SQLite 3, and then here we will install this one, and then we'll install AWS CLI because we need to execute AWS S3mv command. So AWS S3mv is basically a bash operator, right, or shell script. So for executing shell commands we can use bash operator. For executing Python code we can use Python operator, like that. As we discussed earlier, Airflow tag you can build with different operators. So here we are utilizing them. To explore more detail, obviously you can go through the documentation link in Airflow. Now here we will install virtual environment, and we will create a virtual environment venv, and we will be activating that virtual environment, and once that is done we will install Airflow. and then we will install all the necessary modules for Snowflake. And then here we can install PyArrow and FastParquet also, because when you are trying to write the pandas data frame in Parquet file format in EC2 local, that time these two modules are needed. And then here we can execute airflow-db in it. So here it is successfully done, but we want to use Postgre one, so we'll install Postgre also for our airflow database. And then here we will basically create a user for our airflow in our Postgre database. We will enter in this PSQL, and then we will execute these three codes, and we can exit. We return back to our virtual environment. Now what we will do, we will go to airflow directory, and here I need to execute these two commands first. Okay, that is done. Now here what we need to do, we can do airflow-db init once again, and then next here we can create one airflow user. The username is airflow. The password it will be asking in the prompt. So here it has asked password. I can give the password. I have to repeat the password. Okay, that is done. User airflow with role admin got created. Now what we'll do, we'll create a directory to store all the tags and our Python codes, etc. So I will go back, and then here in home Ubuntu tags we'll create that tag. Okay, tags folder. Now here what we need to do, in airflow.cfg we need to update tag folder location, and we don't want to load any examples tag, so that one will be configuring false. So for doing all these changes I will use WinSCP. So I'll open WinSCP. Hostname I'll put this. This is Ubuntu. And I can choose the key pair file for login. Okay, right. Now what we need to do first, I will go to airflow and airflow cfg. In this particular file we need to change two properties. Number one, the tags folder where all the tags codes will be sitting, that is home Ubuntu tags. Here you see this is having some different value. We will change that first. And here one more thing is load examples. This is configured as true. So lot of example tags will be loaded. We don't want that. We'll be configuring false. Okay. We'll save this and close this. So it is connecting. Let it complete that process. Now as next step, what we need to do, put the code in specific location. Specific locations mean in our tags folder. Okay. So we'll put our code in tags folder. So this is our airflow tag. So this airflow tag we can save. We can save in F drive. The tag name we can give hello world.py, and this is a Python file. Okay, and this news fetcher ETL, which is basically using that news API to fetch the data, that one also will be saving in that same location. So here in F drive I'll be going, and news fetcher ETL will save this. Okay, right, both files are saved in local. Now I will open that particular location, okay, in F drive, and here we are having our tag. So here in right hand side, this is basically our EC2 instance. So I will go to tags location, and the news fetcher ETL I will put in this place, and hello world.py also I will drag and drop here. Okay, right. So that way both codes are now available in our EC2, which is perfect. Now here execute the Snowflake queries, that is creating that external stage, creating database, all things are done. Now here what we can do, we can execute airflow-db init again to check whether it is throwing any error or not. It has initialized properly, that means it is working. Now here I can start Airflow web server. So Airflow web server is started. I will duplicate this session and I'll use Ubuntu, and then here I will enter in that virtual environment in the new console, and then here I will start the Airflow scheduler. Okay, so here I will execute Airflow scheduler. So our Airflow scheduler as well as our Airflow web server both are started. Now we can use this particular public IP to enter in Airflow. Okay, let's see. Airflow by default runs in 8080 port. So here see, it is giving me user ID password prompt. I will put user ID and password what we have configured here already. That is, user ID is Airflow, password is this one. I will configure that and I will sign in. So here we are having our tag. But before running this tag, we need to create the Snowflake connection, right? Because if you observe this particular tag, this is using snowflake-con. So the snowflake-con is not yet created. We need to create that. So here what I will do, I will go to connections. I'll open in a new tab and I will create that Snowflake connection. I'll click on plus icon. The connection ID I will provide snowflake-con, and here connection type I will choose Snowflake. The host name. The host name is basically the unique identifier, then dot, my account is in US is 2.aws, I'll put that, then dot snowflakecomputing.com. Okay, right? And then schema we are going to use public schema anyway. Login ID I will provide, password I will provide. Okay, and then account, our account is basically this particular one only. The warehouse is compute.wh, which we are getting as part of free tier. The database name, we created Ramu database, right? If you observe our Snowflake, we created Ramu database, so we are using that. Region is US is 2.aws. Okay, role we are going to use account admin. Although in production system for Airflow we should use a different role, but we are just using for this POC account admin only. Okay, now we'll save this. So this is done. Now we can run our tag. Let's click on this particular tag and let's click on graph view. So here see, it has not ran yet. We have not scheduled it. Just I am showing you the tag activity using Airflow. We can obviously schedule it. Just it is very simple. Here as of now we have kept schedule interval none. Instead of that, you can put what time interval it should run, as simple as that, right? Using corn expression. But let's now observe the working of the tag, which is the main part. So here if you observe, in this particular data lake, there is no file available, and similarly here this table is also not there. But now let's try to run our tag. I can change the time zone to IST for easy understandability, and then here I can click on this trigger tag. Okay, so here I can refresh. So first step got executed. Now move files to S3 is executed. Now see, this one is running, so that's why it is showing light green color. That is also done. Now the copy command is executing and soon it will be completing. So see, it is also done. All complete dark green means all steps got executed successfully. If you hover your mouse pointer over any task, you can see the local IST, it is 7:04 PM and currently it is 7:05 PM. Just now it ran, right? So let's see whether data is there or not. So in data lake, we are seeing this Parquet file with the timing 7:05 PM. That is showing that news data is extracted. Related to what topic we extracted the news information? Related to COVID, right? Here we extracted the news information related to COVID. So that Parquet file is generated from news API. It extracted the data and now it should have created that particular hello parquet table also. Let's see. And here if you observe that the table also got created. Okay, news title, timestamp, URL source, content, okay, source, and then author, all these informations. If any image is there, what is the URL of that image? All things are displayed here. Now you can execute any data analytics queries. Like for example, I want to get distinct news title and URL sources related to latest COVID information. Then I can execute this query. Because anyway, these news informations are latest only. Because here if you observe the news fetcher ETL, from start time to end time, this one, we have just configured these values. That is, end time is today and start time is day before today. So whatever news is fetched related to COVID, those are all latest informations only. Okay, right, or latest news only. So here you see that any good information we are getting or not. Anyway, most of the news should be negative kind of, but anyway, we are getting it. So here, if you observe 3 top healthcare stocks to buy in May. Okay, here you are getting the URL also. You can go to this particular URL. Maybe due to COVID cases, the healthcare stocks are increasing for some companies, and this particular article has suggested. If you just do a command def, and if you just search with COVID, here see in this particular news article, COVID related informations are there. So PFRIS basically make the vaccinations for COVID-19, right? So that's why might be they are promoting to buy these stocks, whatever. Anyway, we are not going to that deeper. So here if you observe some other news, China, Trump and COVID-19. So here let's see what is there in this news related to COVID. So here 3 years ago on this page I posted the question, will the coronavirus pandemic derail China's global ambition? My answer, only if Donald Trump were to be re-elected as a president in 2020, will China's ambition will be derailed? Something like that. Okay, so here hope you are getting this from this kind of fetched data, that these are related to COVID related news only, and their article links also we are getting it. Okay, so here in this video we understood how to build a complete news data fetcher pipeline for analytics purpose, and we understood one more important component related to Apache Airflow, that is XCOM, or cross communication between different tasks. That is, here in this particular DAG, here extract news info is extracting news articles and writing in a EC2 local file. Now this move file to S3, this is a bash operator. This need to know that file name, what it will be moving from the EC2 local to S3. So for that, to send the file name from here to here, we need to provide the XCOM, right? Here if you click on this, and here if you go to XCOM section, here you will be able to see that also. See here, return value, this particular task has returned this particular file name, home Ubuntu, then this is some UUID we attached, and this is the Parquet file. Now this one, this particular second task has extracted. So here if you go to logs, you will be observing that same file, it has loaded in S3. Here if you observe the logs, here see running the command user bin bash command -c AWS S3mv, and then here it is putting that particular Parquet file name only what it received from the first task, right? And that one it is moving to that S3 location. So this is the beauty of cross communication. Sometimes it is very helpful. So I hope you understood the overall pipeline. All the codes I'll be providing in the description box or in the comment section. Just try to play with it. You will have more fun and you will understand the big data pipeline design in a better way. Don't forget to terminate the EC2 instance once the experiment is done to avoid unnecessary billing. So if you find this video helpful, then please like, share and comment. Subscribe our channel if you have not subscribed till now. And don't forget to press the bell icon to get the notification of our latest videos. Thank you for watching.